A large variety of disasters can result in animal welfare emergencies on a very large scale, and these can include outbreaks of human or animal disease, wars, famines and other geopolitical disasters, large-scale failures of electricity or other industrial processes, and severe weather events. Rather than creating new situations, disasters often expose underlying systemic vulnerabilities. Within southeastern Australia, for example, the Murray-Darling River system drains much of Victoria and New South Wales. However, the increasing damming of the river and diversion of it to supply industrial-scale cotton farms in southern Queensland, combined with decreased rainfall in 2019, resulted in the river actually stopping and stagnant pools of water forming, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of fish. Increasingly hot summers have resulted in increasing demands on power grids in the eastern United States. However, these technologies have not always been updated, with the results that power blackouts have become a feature of recent years. And in many regions of the world, chronic pet overpopulation is an ongoing animal disaster, with stray dogs and cats being vulnerable to road traffic accidents, disease and malnutrition. Management of the animals in these situations is often crisis-driven rather than aimed at correcting the underlying systemic vulnerabilities, which is why these disasters often seem to recur. Unlike companion animals, farmed animals are particularly vulnerable because they rarely accompany human beings to safety. Although central to rural economies, farmed animals are often invisible within disaster planning and management. Within the United Kingdom, the most common cause of animal disasters is extreme weather events. There were 16 of these recorded between 2004 and 2009, and the prevalence of these is expected to increase in the future due to climate change. The second most common cause of animal disasters in the United Kingdom has been animal diseases. For example, within the foot and mouth disease outbreak of 2001, some 6 million livestock animals were killed. Only around 2 million of these were actually killed because of welfare concerns, with over 4 million actually being killed because they were within a certain radius of premises that were found to be infected with the disease. On a smaller scale, accidents, fires, failures of machinery occur much more regularly, often with severe implications for animal welfare. Over 60,000 chickens were killed on a poultry farm in Leicestershire in 2010, for example, when a fire caused part of the roofing to collapse. Here around the University of Winchester, the Hampshire Fire and Rescue Service attended some 350 animal rescues in 2010. These involved animals such as cows and horses, trapped in bogs, ditches, pits, slurry lagoons, fires, road traffic accidents, and various other disasters. These incidents are now so common that a variety of large animal mannequins have been developed to allow the rescue services to practice rescuing animals such as horses from bogs. Animals can be affected by the disaster directly because of consequences such as hypothermia, pneumonia, feed and water contamination. Dairy cattle, for example, require some 70 to 90 litres of fresh water per day, and also things like skin softening as a result of standing in water, and an increased risk of infectious diseases. Farmed animals can also be affected by the impacts on the farming husbandry systems. When many thousands of animals are confined within a fairly small space, they become very dependent on us to provide them with a steady supply of fresh air, clean drinking water, feed and shelter. And when those systems are disrupted, severe animal welfare problems and the deaths of thousands of animals can and do result. Farm workers will often be directly affected by the disaster, and understandably perhaps, their first priority will often be themselves and other human beings rather than the farmed animals. Human welfare in disasters can be indirectly affected by the animals. In Hurricane Katrina, there was a high evacuation failure rate of people who refused to leave their homes, where they had multiple animals there that they were responsible for looking after, and often these were households without any children. Now, in these situations, it was found that those people often refused to leave their homes because the first responders were not willing to evacuate their companion animals along with the people. Responsible planning for large-scale disasters involves multiple stages. An assessment of vulnerabilities should be conducted, with gaps identified in available resources and a plan implemented in order to fill those. Mitigation may involve trying to decrease the adverse impacts that disasters may have, for example by modification of building codes to require buildings to be more robust. In the real world, management of disasters is often ad hoc, with multiple different agencies responsible meeting one another and attempting to work together for the first time under cramped, stressful conditions involving decisions that are very high stakes that affect human lives, involve large sums of money, and involve competition for high in demand resources. Clearly, this is not an optimal environment to be meeting other parties for the first time and to be building up well-coordinated working relationships. Accordingly, relevant agencies such as the fire services, the RSPCA, animal sheltering organisations and others ought really to plan for disasters well in advance, run simulation exercises, have standard operating procedures and memoranda of understanding to be able to more effectively cope with disasters. Unfortunately, however, within the United Kingdom, across Europe, the US and in many other countries, contingency planning for disasters doesn't usually consider animals other than the outbreak of large-scale animal diseases. The police consider their role to be primarily concerned with the protection of human lives, public safety and the prevention of crime such as animal theft. However, as we increasingly confine and farm ever larger numbers of animals in ever more intensive operations, they become increasingly dependent on us for the provision of all of their basic needs. Accordingly, we really need to be including them in our disaster management plans.